Welcome to Kaleidoscope. Let's talk. Sri Lankan women carry a heavy load and most often are physically and psychologically burdened. To the naked eye, these burdens are never seen. But Sri Lankan women are inspirational reminders of what womanhood is about. Artist Minal Wickrematunge encapsulated the powerful lives of 10 women from Sri Lanka, celebrating their creative pursuits, womanhood and motherhood. Stories of their accomplishments and as a show of solidarity with the grief and burden they carry. A self-taught artist and an ambassador for the Fearless Collective, Minal archived their stories using the art of batik. Her work explores feminism in the South Asian context, delving into human rights and peace. We chatted with her at Barefoot, where the exhibition was held. Minal, what I see around me here is simply amazing. Now, you were inspired by the words of Dr. Rajani Thiranagama, strong heart, strong head, strong emotions, to delve into the stories of these 10 women. Why?
Yeah, I found her words incredibly inspiring. I feel like in a country where apathy is constantly at the fore, I felt to have strong heart and strong emotions was so important, coupled with a strong head, of course, because we all need to be completely aware and do more research to know our past and how it colors our future, as well as how I was completely inspired by Rajani Thiranagama's life. And I was really grateful for these words, which were originally written to her daughter Narmada. And she was so kind to let me use them for the title of my show.
Now, these women are from diverse genres. What made you choose them? What is it that resonated with you about them?
The different genres that I have broadly can be broken into two large arcs, one being the arts and the creative field. And as an artist, of course, I'm inspired by artists, weavers, dancers, and batik, of course, as well as the fact that I grew up in a family of journalists, and that would be the second, I guess, broad umbrella of the kind of women that I've spotlighted, who do come from a background of human rights, justice, and peace. And for those reasons, for my personal upbringing as an artist, as a person who's been brought up by a family of media workers and journalists, I was really inspired by these women.
So, was there a common thread that bound these women to your narrative?
Common thread that bound these women are definitely the fact that they are powerful, incredibly fiery, feisty women who also led with empathy and love. And for me, that was really inspiring.
So, what were some of the revelations you came across while doing your research?
I had several pinch me, almost magical realism moments. One, for instance, was when I was invited by the De Almeida family to sit down and learn about Dr. Manurani Saravanamuthu. And whilst I was interviewing Kanya and Maria De Almeida, they pulled out Richard de Zoisa's photograph collection, and that's when I dove into those images, and I actually found photographs of my aunt, Auntie Christine Thambimuthu Fernando, who played alongside Richard on some of those plays that he did. And for me, that was great because Aunt Christine doesn't have images of her time on stage and in theater, and that was wonderful.
So, if you were to describe each of these women in one word, what would those be?
I feel like these women cannot be encapsulated in one word. It's incredibly difficult to describe each woman in one word, but overall, I think all of them are fiery, independent. They've led the way, so they're premiers in so many ways, emotional, they're super, how do I say it, resilient. And for that, I feel like there's that one running thread throughout all these women. And of course, when I look at their work, perhaps especially the artists, there's a lot of joy in their work. So I would say joyful as well.
What was your process of research like?
My process was twofold. First, I mean, it was reaching out to family members of these women, reading up about these women. If there was a possibility of talking to these women, great, then I would interview them. Otherwise, I would reach out to close family members. Also just doing research, readings, getting hold of reports, looking for different books that perhaps spoke about their lives in certain ways. And especially with the artists, it was also sitting with their body of work, because I feel like when you want to get to know an artist, you also get to know them through their work. And that was another way of peeling back the layers. And after speaking to these people and having an ongoing process, I did do the images and I shared them back with these women, and it was back and forth. As well as I want to talk about the fact that this was the first time I was working on batik. For me, that was incredibly a wonderful experience. That Sarah Dean from Ira Industries was really helpful. She opened up her doors to me, and I learned under her really skilled artisans, and to me that was a wonderful experience as well.
What did you learn most from your research process? What were the surprises that came by?
The surprises were that sometimes, I think the most surprising thing is that most Sri Lankans don't know these women. To me, that is the most surprising thing. Not so much that I found something surprising during my research. It was the idea that there are so many generations that don't know who these women are, and that to me was really shocking. Of course, there are people who do know some of these women because they come from certain segments or sectors. However, the broader public doesn't.
What was most challenging in documenting their stories?
The most challenging part with representation is making sure that you tell their stories to the best of your ability and make sure that they're presented really well. Also, when I was sitting with some of these women who've had like incredibly difficult lives, it's also really tough when you're sitting through that work and working on the piece, because you're sitting with those stories, and that can also take a toll in its own way, because you have to sit with that grief and you have to pour that grief into the work, and sometimes that could be difficult to navigate, particularly when I was delving into my cousin Ahimsa Wickrematunge's work, for instance, which was quite a task.
So these are her stories that you would want us to remember. Why do you think it's important for us to remember these stories?
I believe that our future generations definitely need to know these women. I think in Sri Lanka we have a history of forgetting. There's a history of us constantly having amnesia and forgetting our past, forgetting especially the women who always get overshadowed. And I wanted to bring these women to the foreground, to remember them, to remember their search for justice, as well as the incredible work they've done in the creative fields that have paved the path for so many more women to earn a living, a sustenance, as well as to grow our creative industries as a country.
So what's next for you, Minal?
I am not so much a planner, so all I know for now is that I'm about to study my master's in the Netherlands, and I'm going to be studying a master's in museum and heritage theory. And I guess what goes from there is your guess is as good as mine.
Strong heart, strong head, strong emotions aptly describes the women of Sri Lanka. Thank you, Minal, for highlighting these women, these inspirational women, and adding a renaissance to their stories so that they will never be forgotten. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like us for more.
You focus on your goals. we will take care of the risks.